Several years ago, some strange and unforeseen events began to occur in the world. Mysterious portal doors appeared out of nowhere, introducing the human world to the dungeons and connecting it to the other dimensions. Currently, there were people born with strong abilities who were called hunters and who hunted the dungeons, saving humanity from the monsters' attacks. Sung Jinwoo is an E-rank hunter who lives in Seoul, but his persona as a hunter is unique, as he is known as the weakest of all. Being a hunter gives him only a slight advantage and makes him barely stronger than an average human being. As a result, he is easily injured whenever he enters a dungeon, and he frequently visits the hospital. Despite barely surviving even low-ranked dungeons all the time, he can't quit his job because he has to pay her sick mother's hospital bills and care for her younger sister. Hunter is the only profession he can seek because he lacks any other abilities as a human. One day, he receives a summons and travels to the location of his party to hunt a D-rank dungeon. His fellow hunters, who are stronger than him, greet him with kindness but regard him as a consistent weakling, referring to him as the world's weakest hunter. He is greeted by a fellow hunter girl named Joo-hee, who is angry at him for repeatedly injuring himself in lower-ranked dungeons and is worried about him. Song Cheol, the strongest hunter in their party, takes command of the party as the leader as they prepare to explore the assigned dungeon. The party enters the dungeon, and the members easily clear out the monsters, except for Jinwoo, who is badly injured and is being healed by Joo-hee. She questions why he must continue in the dungeon hunting profession when his life is constantly in danger. Jinwoo, who can't bring himself to tell her the truth, smiles and says he does it for fun, infuriating her. Jinwoo examines a magical crystal he received as a reward, but he is disappointed because it is only an E-rank magical crystal, despite the fact that he risked his life to obtain it. Soon after, the party discovers another dungeon layer, and the party leader convinces everyone to vote on whether or not to enter the other layer of the dungeon. 8 of the 17 party members agree to go inside the dungeon, while the other 8 believe it is dangerous because they could be killed if a strong monster appears and vote not to go inside. Jinwoo is the only one left because the votes are tied. His vote would determine the final decision, and he decides to explore the dungeon in order to support his sick mother and younger sister. The party enters the dungeon's second layer but finds nothing for 40 minutes. Jinwoo apologizes to Joo-hee for voting to enter the layer when she had previously voted not to. Joo-hee tries to hide her rage, but it shows as she lashes out at him. Jinwoo apologizes once more and agrees to take her out to dinner at her request. After a long walk, the group arrives at a massive door. Cheol, the party's leader, decides to enter and opens the door. He gives everyone another chance to leave, but the party sticks with him because they believe in his abilities. They notice large statues holding various instruments and weapons. A gigantic colossal statue at the far end of the room frightens Jinwoo as he searches for monsters. The group comes across a stone tablet with the 4 commandments written on it. Jinwoo interprets the commandments as follows: first, obey the Lord; second, praise the Lord; third, demonstrate faith. Joo-hee notices the colossal statue staring at her while they are reading the commandments. When she tells Jinwoo about it, he dismisses it as a whim. Suddenly, the party feels a terrifying chill inside the room, and the door closes on its own, frightening everyone. A member of the party decides to leave the room and runs towards the door, but a guard statue moves suddenly and kills him in an instant. Everyone's faces are filled with fear as they consider the possibility of being attacked by the colossal statue. Jinwoo abruptly instructs everyone to duck, and a powerful beam of light strikes the party. A few of the party members, including one of the 3 healers, are caught in the beam and die instantly, while the rest are terrified and thank Jinwoo for saving them. Jinwoo notices Cheol's arm disappearing from his body and assists him in stopping the bleeding. Cheol considers the colossal statue an S-rank monster and loses all hope of escaping the dungeon as he senses even their survival is threatened. Jinwoo perceives the colossal statue's attack and attempts to avoid the next shot by recalling the commandments on the stone tablet. Cheol examines the remaining healers and notices that both are frozen in fear. Joo-hee is a B-rank healer, but she was out of consciousness because she hadn't experienced the dangers of that level. While Jinwoo and Cheol are busy analyzing the dire situation, they separately decide to remain still in order to avoid further attacks. One of the party members who can move very quickly stands up and decides to try his luck, fueled by his extreme agility. Cheol cautions him not to move, but he is confident in his speed and believes he will easily pass through the door. The hunter moves in the blink of an eye towards the door, but his body vanishes as he approaches it. The colossal statue kills him with his beam. Jinwoo is perplexed as to why the colossal statue isn't shooting his lethal beam at them, and he theorizes that all the statues move and attack in a predictable pattern. He discovers that whenever someone tries to leave the room, the guard statues attack. He also figures out the colossal statue attack by decoding the meaning of the first commandment, which is to pay respects to the colossal statue. He approaches the colossal statue and shows everyone that it does not attack anyone who moves and only attacks if they move above a certain height. He informs everyone that this dungeon has rules that can be deciphered by understanding the hidden meanings behind the commandments. He then tells everyone to keep their heads down in order to avoid further attacks, and everyone agrees. The eyes of the statue deactivate as the hunters in the party lower their heads, proving Jinwoo correct. Next thing they know, an evil grin appears on the colossal statue's face, and everyone is terrified that this statue will do something. Some party members relax and stop lowering their heads, believing that the statue's previous attack mode will not be activated again. As everyone rises to their feet, they are attacked anymore. The colossal statue rises from his throne and begins to walk toward them. Members of the party experience a sense of urgency. Cheol screams in terror and asks Jinwoo what to do, but Jinwoo also has no idea. He remembers the second commandment, which is to praise the Lord. He tells everyone that they must praise the colossal statue in order to stop him. A member of the party stands up and attempts to praise the statue with a rhyme he used to read at church. Because the rhyme doesn't praise it, the statue mercilessly steps on him and kills him. Every hunter in the party flees for their lives, and Cheol warns them not to form groups. Jinwoo tries to take the spiritless Juhi's hand and lead her to safety. Commotion causes a hunter to approach a guard statue by mistake and be cut in half by it. Jinwoo is unable to escape the situation because he is unable to run due to the guard statues, and the greater danger of the colossal statue will not allow them to remain in the room. Jinwoo notices that some of the guard statues are holding instruments while the other hunters are being attacked by the guard statues. He places a wager and commands everyone to rush to the statues holding the instruments. Everyone obeys Jinwoo's command and approaches the instrument guard statues separately. When a hunter approaches the statues, they begin to play the instruments, proving Jinwoo's prediction correct once more. Every hunter has a statue of an instrument, but Jinwoo and Juhi are still together. When they arrive at a statue, they discover that only one hunter can sit at an instrument statue. He sacrifices, abandons Juhi at the instrument statue, and flees to find another. He approaches a statue with a shield by mistake and is attacked by it. His life appears to flash before his eyes as he struggles to crawl towards another instrument statue, narrowly avoiding death. The colossal statue comes to a halt as the statues play their instruments in praise of it. Juhi rushes over to Jinwoo and sobs as she notices he has lost his leg. She begins to use all of her mana and promises to heal him, but she overextends herself. Cheol looks around his party and notices that only 6 of them are alive. When a party member begins blaming him for dragging everyone to the dangerous lair of the dungeon, the ground begins to shake. The massive statue tosses a massive stone to the ground, which Jinwoo immediately recognizes as an altar. He then reminds everyone of the final commandment, prove your faith. Jinwoo believes it may be their final trial. The party believes that they must offer someone as a sacrifice in order to avoid the final trial, and they force Cheol to sacrifice himself because he is to blame for everything. Jinwoo objects, but Cheol moves willingly toward the altar, and a flame appears around it. Jinwoo instructs the rest of the party to proceed to the altar because the ritual will not begin unless everyone is gathered around it. As everyone gathers at the altar, the door to the room suddenly opens, revealing more flames, bringing the total to 6 for all 6 hunters. Suddenly, they notice the guard statues approaching them, and the remaining party is once again unsure how to avoid the next danger. Jinwoo's foresight and sharp analysis come in handy once more, and he instructs everyone to stare at the guard statues to stop them from moving. One of the hunters seizes the opportunity and runs towards the door, leading everyone to believe she will perish, but they are surprised to see her pass through the door alive. As she passes through, the door closes slightly and a flame disappears. Jinwoo believes that passing through the door is a temptation against the statue's faith and thus a trap. Another party member soon runs out of the room. Jinwoo yells not to leave because there will be insufficient people to stare at the guard statues to keep them from moving. Jinwoo also notices that the blue flames are disappearing in a predictable pattern and informs everyone that once the blue flames are gone, they will all be safe. The closing door, however, forces the third party member to leave as well, leaving Jinwoo, Juhi, and Cheol behind. Jinwoo grabs his head in despair, claiming that the party member's departure will result in his death because he is unable to move due to his lost leg. Cheol displays resolute resolve and orders Jinwoo and Juhi to leave the room. Jinwoo, on the other hand, does not want anyone to die and does not want to live with the guilt, but Cheol persuades them that they are both too young to die. He asks Juhi to take Jinwoo out of the room, which she agrees to, but she is unable to stand on her own because she has expended too much energy helping Jinwoo's wounds. Jinwoo then decides to remain in the room and persuades Seoul to take Joo-hee and flee. Joo-hee wants to die alongside Jinwoo, but he promises to return and take her to dinner. He feeds her his magical crystal, and Seoul takes her out of the room against her will. The guard statues approach Jinwoo to attack, and he draws his sword to take one of them down with him. His efforts, however, are futile as the statues tear him apart. Just before he is about to die, he wishes to have one more chance at life, and a mysterious interface window appears in front of him saying you have completed all the necessary requirements of the secret quest Courage of the Weak. Another interface allows him to become a player hunter, a unique and entirely new privilege in the world of hunters. He accepts, becomes the player, and passes out. He opens his eyes in a hospital and discovers that all of his wounds and lost leg have healed. Inspectors from the Korean Hunter Guild pay him a visit and inform him that he has been sleeping for 3 days and that his comrades Joo-hee and Seoul are safe but unable to continue with their hunting profession. They go on to say that they discovered him alone in the dungeon at the altar, with no statues in the room. They use a device to test Jinwoo's abilities, suspecting he has obtained the double awakening power, as they believe it takes an S-rank hunter to solve the recent dungeon layer's mess. They leave as soon as they notice the useless reading of Joo-hee's powers, given that he is still only an E-rank hunter. Jinwoo is still confused about the whole situation and sees an interface saying you have one unread email. After his sister pays him a visit, he opens the mail and finds a daily quest to become stronger. The quest instructs him to complete 100 push-ups, curl-ups, and squats, as well as a 10 kilometers run. A warning interface appears, stating that he will be punished for failing to complete the daily quest. He disregards the warning and promptly falls asleep. The daily quest timer expires, and he awakens to the sound of an earthquake. Suddenly, he finds himself in a desert, and an interface appears, informing him of the penalty quest to survive the perilous desert for 4 hours. He is pursued by many large centipedes in the desert and somehow survives the 4 hours. As the penalty quest concludes, he is returned to his hospital room. He begins to take the daily quest seriously and completes all physical tasks while still in the hospital. He discovers that no one else can see the interfaces and that he can instantly heal after completing the grueling physical quests. He gains stat points to strengthen his states, making him stronger, and he also has a chance to win a random box item after completing daily quests. One day, he receives a key that allows him to enter an instant dungeon. He decides to enter the instant dungeon and plans to return using his sprint if he finds it difficult to complete alone. He enters the dungeon after activating it. To his surprise, the dungeon door closes, and he discovers that the only way out is to kill a boss or use a return crystal, which he lacks. He wonders how he went from being a weak hunter a week ago to entering a dungeon by himself. Follow if you want to zap into the latest anime trends and subscribe so you never miss any update from us.